little confused because 80% of the people know me here. It is very difficult to talk in front of the people who know you because beyond the point you cannot dramatize whatever you are doing. So I will have to be little cautious. Well, about this today's presentation, what all I thought is it's not something about me or my industry. This can probably be something about a first generation entrepreneur and the challenges that he faces as a first generation entrepreneur. Many of you can correlate this with themselves. My total experience is, say, for first 20 years I was in education. I was studying personal studies up to 20 years of age. Then for 5-6 years I was working as a junior engineer, and then I started a business. So around 23-24 years of total business experience. So maximum period of my life I spent into business. So that is the only thing that I can really talk about. And when designing or what to talk and what should I say here, when I started jotting down something to talk here, so these are the things which came to my mind. But of course, I'm definitely not authority to talk on this. There are a lot of good people, knowledgeable people who can really talk on these subjects. I'm not authority to talk on this. So what all I can talk is something. It can be treated as a manager's diary or say a business diary, and it's only the challenges that I faced in business that I can talk about. The challenges typically a first generation entrepreneur faces, they are only of 3 types. Only 3 challenges one faces. The first is about to start, second is about to grow, and third is about to sustain. Starting of a business, without that you really cannot go further. Growing of a business, and finally you have to sustain the business. Whenever a first generation entrepreneur or anybody starts a business, the first thing that comes in picture is about money. This is a very frequently asked question. That how you raised funds. I'm seeing a lot of youngsters also here, so probably this may be really of interest to them. How to raise funds and how to raise money for doing a business, because this is a very common question, a very first question which I faced across many a times. Honestly speaking, I don't know the answer of this question, and even if I know, I would not like to share it. Then I will raise the funds and I will start doing whatever I can. But we will have to remember certain things. If money would have been a stop sign, if money is the only thing which could really make the business successful, then Dhirubhai Ambani, who was a son of a primary teacher, would not have become Dhirubhai Ambani. Narayan Murthy, he borrowed 10,000 rupees from his wife to start Infosys, which is the brand today. Steve Jobs, I'm sure we know the story of Steve Jobs. He was practically an unwanted child. And there are good number of stories like this, which really prove that money are definitely not stop signs. They can be the indicators. They can be the guidelines. So this is what exactly happened even about me and even about many of first generation entrepreneurs. That the things start coming up. How it comes, there is no really a direct equation for that. But then, if you have a desire, if you have that fire in the belly, it will happen. You will raise the funds. The second important point for any first generation entrepreneur to start with is one should have really a clarity of thought. There should be a clear picture in mind. One has to start with the end in mind. And personally, I faced I realized this particular thing in a hard way. I started a business with some service industry, then I was into some trading kind of thing, then I was into some project kind of thing, then once I did manufacturing, again filled into everything and everything. So there were a lot of things on which I hopped about and in which I really wasted good amount of time. So my personal feeling is if there is, if we have, if we can keep end in mind, probably the travel becomes much simpler. Family support is one of a very important criteria. Here I would like to share a personal experience, which I normally share to maximum possible places, not for praising to somebody, but because I found it really that really turned around my life. I was around 26, 27 years old when I left my first job, and naturally I'm from a middle class or say lower middle class family. My father was very against my leaving the job. For a very natural reason, I am the only child for them. He was retired, and there were almost 6-7 years when he retired. 6-7 years after his retirement. Like all boys, all sons in that age, I was also not listening to my father. There was always a difference of opinion, a very sophisticated word, of course. And like all fathers, my father was always used to think, so it was a very typical situation. I left the job. I didn't tell him that I am leaving the job. I left it. When he understood, he fired me like anything, but he was definitely helpless. So he did not talk to me for around a month or so. And after that, after 3 or 4 months, I started realizing that I made a mistake by leaving the job. Because the so-called business that I was doing was not a business at all. It was just a wishful thinking. And then there was frustration, there was a lot of pressures, there was a depression, and I was absolutely, I was feeling that everywhere it is very dark and those kind of things. You can understand the situation. One fine evening he came to me and he just kept his hand on my back. And he said, what's happening? So I told him the story that, okay, now this is what is the situation, and I'm practically nowhere. Till that time I was married, I had my first son. There, the sentence that he had said is probably very important, which turned my life around. I'll tell that sentence in Marathi because it has a lot of impact. He told me, मी जिवंत असेपर्यंत means मी जिवंत असेपर्यंत तुला तुझ्या बायकापोरांना 2 वेळचं जेवण मिळेल ह्याची मी व्यवस्था करीन, तू त्याची काळजी करू नको. And believe me, that was the turning point which boosted a lot of energy in me, because it was only a question of survival for me at that point of time. By grace of God, it had never happened. But then that particular sentence was really a point wherein I really bounced back. So this family support is very important in anybody's life. Family and of course friend support is also equally important, but that will come later on. These 3-4 things which I talked about were all personal issues that entrepreneur or first generation entrepreneur really faces. The external issue, and again most asked question is, where is the market? We can do anything, but who will buy? And then Iron Lady of Israel, Mrs. Golda Meir, she says even if a dog trots around, he gets a bone. So we are definitely better than dogs. So let us not worry on whether can we get a market or not. As far as external environment is concerned, do's and do nots are also equally important. You should understand what you should do, and you should understand what you should not do. So here, which simply indicates that the direction is required, and which is much more important than speed. This I am talking as this starting of a business. So in starting of a business, probably the direction, you must get a direction which is much important than speed. As I told just now, there were a lot of things which I was doing and I was not getting the right direction, and I was failing miserably in almost everything and everything. Friends, again, when you start a business, it's not only you who start a business. There are a good number of other people who really start a business, and they are equally or maybe at times more competent than what you are. So the competition will always be fierce whenever you're in the beginning of a business. And to overcome this, it's not really enough that you should do something which is very marginal. You have to do something which keeps you miles ahead of your competitors. Miles ahead of your competitors. Then only you can beat the competition. Competition cannot be beat just like in Olympics. There is some point 1 second, point 2 second. That doesn't happen in business. You have to be miles ahead of the others to kill the competition game. And just one more thing about competition. Tougher is a competition, better it is. Because if you have, say, relatively less competition, you become complacent much easily. So the competition has to be tougher. Many a times, maybe with a little exaggeration, I would like to say, unhealthy competition takes you much ahead. Unhealthy from the competitor side I am talking about. I am not saying that we should do unhealthy competition with anybody. But if at all somebody is doing unhealthy competition with you, it will take you much ahead, because then you understand rules of the game much better and in a much faster way. So competition is definitely required. It is always very useful to grow as far as your own business is concerned. This is again one of a very important point. A first generation entrepreneur, almost throughout his life, he will always have a fear of existence, because of maybe lack of experience, maybe there is a human tendency of preserving what you have really achieved, but there will always be fear of existence. This is a psychological phenomenon, of course, but then it exists. This is a reality. So just to overcome this, we need to prepare for the best. We need to prepare for the worst. We need to hope for the best, and we should forget the rest. Whenever one enters into business, due to this fear of existence, one more thing comes in picture, that is a democratic mindset. He always wants that the thing should happen with consensus. And this consensus never happens. Or consensus happens for the thing which he doesn't want. Because it is only that entrepreneur who is interested in taking the whole organization ahead. If he takes some hard decision, others will have to work. So others will always try to resist that decision. So let us enjoy the democracy, let us accept the democracy as long as we can afford it. If we cannot afford a democracy, let us not accept. I am talking about business again, I am not talking politics. Well, this was something about starting of a business. Coming on the second point of growth of business, which is much more tougher than starting of a business. Many a times starting is easy, and for a good number of people, before reaching to this stage, there are a lot of turmoils happen, and many of the people may not be even able to reach this particular stage. But growth stage is much difficult to handle than starting of a business. And the first and important problem of growth, or while growing, comes in when we start entering into a Me Too category. Me Too category is just I am also present, which simply indicates that there is hardly hardly any margin in that business. So it's entering into Me Too kind of category is one of a problem, because that will increase only your business and not your profits. And if you don't earn profits in business, then the longevity of business is always a problem. So we have to take care whenever we are in a growth phase. We have to take care that we need to we are not in so-called Me Too kind of category. This is a typical issue which crops up when you are in the phase of growth, because then there are a lot of eyes on you, and then there are a lot of expectations from you, and this internally, if you are not able to handle industry relations in a right way, then probably the issues crop up. One of the major reason for this issue is human resources. Industrial relations is related only to human resources, and human resources are not only resources, but they are also human beings. They are with emotions. Right, wrong can be a different issue, but they are full with emotions. They have their expectations. Everything that is related with human beings is existing there, and there where probably an issue comes. If at all someone doesn't treat human beings as human beings, then industrial relations issue will come. Just a little diversion on this particular topic. I would like to share some very good things in this city, in the city of Aurangabad. On this industrial relation issue, many a times it is being said that Aurangabad in industrial relations it's very bad, right? But the reality is much different than what it is. Aurangabad is not really bad, or rather I will say Aurangabad is much better than any other city. You can compare it with Nasik, you can compare it with Pune, Chakan, or some other areas. Again, I am talking about manufacturing industry, the industry in which I am. A speciality of this particular place is I would like to quote certain names here. Tripathi sir was heading Bajaj Auto, and he was on the helm of all affairs in Bajaj Auto at that point of time. Bajaj Auto in that particular period, the first or one wage agreement and second wage agreement, I think there was a period of 10 years that had gone. But in those 10 years, practically not even a single unrest in that company had happened. Not even a single unrest. And even after this 10 years span, whatever agreement had happened, I think now there are 6 years old. So in these 6 years also there is hardly, or rather there is nothing, no labor unrest has happened, and that is because of the way Tripathi sir had handled that particular situation from that point of time. This has set an example in Aurangabad for industrial relations. And believe me, this is a very, very rare thing that for 15, 16 years there is no IR issue in a big organization like Bajaj. It's a very rare thing on national level. Not only this, there is also second example in Aurangabad, which is of Garhwal. When Dr. Ullas Gawli was heading Garhwal, he also had set an example or a typical system of handling IR issues. And I don't know how many of you are aware of the industrial scenario in Aurangabad, but Garhwal also had never had any kind of industrial issue in last say more than 25-30 years. So this is what is happening in Aurangabad. There is a company like Nerlek who is existing in this town for last 50 years. For company existing for 50 years is a rare of rarest examples. Companies come and go. 50 years is not a small span. These are the things which we can see in Western world. In Western world, ownership of company changes, but companies exist. But that is there are typical reasons for it. In Indian scenario, a life of any organization, of any say SME, small and medium enterprise, scientifically it is being proven that it is not more than 17 years. So Aurangabad has such examples of industrial relations, and companies cannot exist without good industrial relations. Companies cannot exist for such a long time, but one of the major reasons for closure down of an industry is industrial relations. Well, coming back to the subject, during growth, system-based working is also one of a very important criteria that needs to be taken care of, because in the initial period, you are small and then you know everything and anything, you know everybody by name, you know what is happening in the whole area of your company. But as you start growing, you need to start working on systems, and which simply means that system will give you speed. Now speed is important. In the earlier this thing, direction was important. Here speed is important. Here direction is already set. And to take care of this, you need to have system-based working. Incidentally, there is some lighter thing. I'm talking this in a lighter mode. But the first 5 ISO companies. ISO is one of the. It is a system. It's a management system. First 5 ISO companies in Aurangabad or in Maluj area are not existing today. But of course, that doesn't mean that we should not go to the system. Its quality management is again one of important criteria when you grow, because your growth, the first thing that starts happening with growth is deterioration in quality. So quality is one of the important things which we need to take care of when we are growing. Now this was all about the internal environment. Coming to the individuals issues, this is one of the common issue when you really start growing, because the technical mind versus commercial sense comes in. We lot many times we hear that he was very highly technical guy, but not existent. He was very good in technology, but unfortunate. And that unfortunate is because there is a little lack of commercial sense. So commercial sense is equally important, like technical know-how or your technical skills. Business is about commerce. Business is more about commerce than technology. Of course, that doesn't. I am not undervaluing technical things or technologies. Technologies takes your business in a longer way, provided you are commercial. With growth, one of a very important issue that comes in picture is complacency. One starts becoming complacent because this complacency is typically because you achieve the goals that you have set for you. Once the goals are achieved, there is a pride of achievement, and pride of achievement is always an enemy of growth. So once you start taking pride into the achievement, you start declining as far as business is concerned. So you have to set next goals before you even accomplish your earlier goals. Earlier goals, as soon as you find them within your reach, one should talk about the next goals. This is one of a very important criteria, even in our individual life. If we want to do something, we need to keep our health. Good health management is the basic and very important, fundamental for everything. So I think this need not be discussed anymore, because I hope everybody will agree on this. After this, coming to sustenance of your business, which is again still more difficult part of a business. And this 17 years, what all I was talking about, 17 years of life, because one cannot sustain the business on longer run. So this sustenance is a real issue. Sustenance will come only through loyal workforce. Company is nothing but people. It's the people who run the company. It's not the owner. It's not the entity who runs the company. They are the people who run the company. Entrepreneur, after a point of time, he can only guide the people. He can only be in the role of a master. Again, delegation is also one of the part of the people. So again, very specifically, I mentioned that company people. I repeated that company people because this is what is a problem of normal problem of a first generation entrepreneur. He has an emotional involvement in everything, so he's scared on delegating to somebody. He always have a feeler that this delegation will loosen my control, and then it is something like you hire somebody for work and you work yourself under him. So this is what normally happens for the first generation entrepreneurs. Yeah. Motivation for the workforce is again it's very important, because you cannot work with demotivated workforce. My personal experience about motivation is very interesting. I found that motivation is only of two sides. Satishji and me probably had a discussion on this at a point of time. Motivation can only be of two types. One is internal motivation, which comes from within, which the people who are internally motivated, you need not tell them, they will work. Whether you talk to them, you don't talk to them, you reward them, you don't reward them, whatever happens, they will work. Second motivation will come only out of fear. There is nothing like external motivation that exists. And believe me, I really mean it. I am talking this after 25 years of my experience. So there is either there is a fear, or there is an internal motivation, or maybe their internal motivation due to fear. This is one of the very important part in any kind of business. That is about training your own people. What really happens is we in India probably the culture of training is very less. We need to train the people. We need to treat them as your children. We teach our children. We teach everything as if he doesn't know anything, even if he is grown up. Even if he has become mature, we always try to teach him a lot of things as if he doesn't know anything. But we don't do this with our subordinates or colleagues or saying. So this is one of the important things that one needs to keep in mind to sustain the business. For sustenance, again, review mechanism has to be in place. If there is no review mechanism, the organization will not exist. Proper review mechanisms and proper utilization of all kind of resources, and again review of that particular thing is an ongoing process. It's not a one time or it's not an intermittent process. Again, financial discipline. I hope everybody will agree with this. Typically, we have a habit of say routing short-term funds for a long-term investment. Normally, in our language, cash credit is converted into for buying fixed capitals or term. That is detrimental, and typically that comes into your financial statements, which bankers understand. Which probably many a times we don't understand. We say my business is very good, I am doing very good. The banker says your so and so ratio is not good, so I cannot give you. So this financial discipline need to be observed. Otherwise, money will disappear, and where it disappears, nobody knows. They are very volatile. So how they disappear, where it will go, all you will understand when your banker starts following you for the installments, or when your account starts becoming empty. This is again one of a subject which is really close to heart. That is about widening the sector base. Normally, there is in our kind of industry, it is being said that we should widen the customer base. So we start working with one customer, we grow with that customer. Then subsequently we start realizing that okay, I am too much dependent on one customer, so let me go to another customer. So we go to another customer with same skill set, but in the same sector. then we go to third customer. And so we widen the customer base. But what really happens is, whenever there are issues like we are facing about recession, all customers will go down. So it's really important that we need to identify our skill set and apply it to maybe some other sector, so that, of course, that doesn't mean in recession that sector will not go down. But then there is at least some hope that something will go good. After growth, if we really want to sustain, we need to consolidate. And the best example of this consultation is probably what Tata's did when Ratan Tata ji took over. They were practically into everything and everything. Tata Namak, Tata Chai, Tata Nano, Tata this, Tata that. You name it and Tata is there. But when he took over, he consolidated everything and everything. And there were hardly some 4 or 5 verticals that he kept in. And balanced almost everything he sold. And that is the reason why in his tenure, the growth of Tata Motors was a phenomenal growth. There was a sizable growth that Tata Group or Tata Sons had seen. So this kind of, the first thing that Narayan Murthy did when he again took a charge of Infosys was consolidation. He tried to consolidate everything, he tried to enter into the core areas, he tried to remove non-core activities, so on and so on. I personally had experienced that in this whole journey of life, as you start taking some higher pressures or higher, you start doing some higher activities, what really happens is you start losing onto your creativity. Your creativity, which is the basic thing. Why you have reached to this particular level? Because in the initial phase of your life, probably you were very creative, and even as an individual, a human being is always a creative animal. So this creativity, we need to preserve. We normally end up in losing this creativity, and by the time we realize that we have lost the creativity, a lot of time is gone. Well, Mukund, we are up here on the last slide.
So as committed,
I fully agree and admire. He committed me that he will be present at least for one slide. he had fulfilled his promise. Friends, coming to the end of this presentation, this is one of our most liked slogan of American, US Army Corps of Engineers. The difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer. And I think this is the attitude that an entrepreneur should have. I sincerely thank Aurangabad Management Association to call me here. It's really a great honor for me. Actually, yesterday there were a lot of discussions on whether how to connect the people, because there is also some interesting seminar that is going on. So it was being suggested that I should wear a burqa come here. But I'm thankful to all of you.
Don't tell the mantra.
I'm really thankful. I'm thankful to all of you for listening me so patiently. I would love to answer if at all we have certain questions.